ask for the blessings from the spirit world to open up our hearts and also to let all of us be together to receive the messages. I am nothing but a messenger. So I will say the opening prayer in Zuni. Malesida and look at on yato kita chuan to the shinukuyera and a kwaike pona on a look at on the Mata Shina on Chow Ian location te woke and Kunomata Chu. On I and the guy on the cookwash on Tachilita on a Sitilita to Tensla and Iamasho and Hana get lost when Hona you hit on National. I ask the spirit people to open up all of our hearts, including the star people, to come and be with us so we can talk with each other and receive some of the messages that they want the world to know, and so that we are here together to receive those messages. Before I start out, I have a side presentation. I believe it's behind me. I just picked this up last night, and for some odd reason, I woke up this morning about 3 o'clock, and I went over to my library, and I pulled out a book in Mr. David Icke, and in one of his opening pages, I saw this, and it says, "Stop seeking and you will find." He said, in a Native American parable, the Creator gathers all the animals and says, "I want to hide something from humans until they are ready for it." The realization that they create their own reality. So give it to me, I'll fly to the moon, says the eagle. No, one day, soon they will go there and find it. How about the bottom of the ocean, asked the salmon. No, they will find it there too. I will bury it in the great plains, says the buffalo. They will soon dig and find it there. Put it inside of them, says the wise grandmother mole. Done, says the Creator. It is the last place they will look. So I think this is some of the things that have been talked to, the messages that I received so many times. I keep get asked the question, "Where's your book?" And I said, "You want to know the truth?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "I'm lazy." But every time I sit down to write a book, something else comes about. So here, anyway, I want to start out by looking at the given. As an engineer, they always say given. The indigenous peoples worldwide have always known about star people ancestry. This took me a lot of years to realize that, and people should now accept the truth. Star beings have always been coming to Earth. Since time immemorial, according to the Southwest Pueblo Indians, the Hopi, Zuni, and other Indian tribes have this knowledge in their oral history and spiritualism. Now, I'm a Zuni Pueblo Indian. For some of you that don't probably know about me, I'm from the Zuni Indian Reservation. I'm 75 Earth years. And I was born into the Medicine Society, and I didn't want to be part of that. So I ran away. I went on, became an engineer. I studied science, especially physics, and I started did a lot of work, nationwide projects, used to be many things. And then I finally realized that I was running away, and they finally, of course, the spirit people say, "Well, let him just run around for a while. He's not gonna get away." So I turned around. So I try to do everything bad so they would, that the spirit people would not accept me because I'm a bad dude. We don't want him anymore. I thought that was going to be the same way. But so I came back when I was about 30 years old, and I became a medicine man. I was born into it, but I finally took over. Little did I realize when I was taking, especially in physics, wave motion, all the stress analysis that I did with different stuff in the engineering world, designing, construction, and everything, I did not realize that the information is right there at my doorstep in Zuni, America. The grandmothers, the grandfathers that I had taught me these things, I thought that was ancient. Oh, that's too ancient. Who didn't want to mess with that? It's too ancient. What I did not realize until I started in the hard sciences, came back, was that what they did was that they explained it in our language rather than in formulas and theorems and laws. They were talking about the same thing, but at an advanced stage. So this is why I'm doing this type of work. Next slide. Okay, the star ancestors and guardians. You know, people are just now realizing that everything has life. I just got through talking to a lady over there that's got those sticks out there with the beans inside of them. I mean, we've always known that. The Indians have always known that. That's why we treat them with respect. We go out there, we only take what is needed. We take no more, no less. And this was very hard for me when I used to work for Shell Oil Company. It was my duty to burn gasoline, 1970s, early 70s. And that's why I quit the oil system, the Shell oil system. Next slide. Okay, the Zuni, the Hopi and the Zuni Pueblo philosophy is that they have prophecies of earth changes. You've heard so many of them, but written by different people. It is better that comes from the people that have the source. So that's why I'm doing this thing. Number two is that we perform spiritual rituals taught by the star people. We did not come up like Charles Darwin, and we didn't go through any stages of it. It was like a boom, a download. Advancement was made. Now, this is all in our history. It's all in our rituals. It's all in our prayers. December 1, I was there in my pueblo. I sat through a 6-hour recitation of where the Kachina people came from, how humanity started, and how the earth was created with all the different animals and different plants and all that. And that falls in the same category as Crick and his, what's that theory of, when all the different things came from outer space, panspermia. So we talked about it in our rituals. They also know that there are guardians of sacred places. Sedona has always been the guardian status, place of guardian people for different types of beings that have always existed in this place. You just can't see them. They're in a different dimension. We're talking about portals, stargates. And in the old days, we used to call them sacred places where we meet our creators, where we go, and in the Zuni term, it's called the places of payment. That's why we go through and we do rituals. We pray, we make prayer sticks, we take cornmeal, we take other minerals, and we pray to them and leave it for them. In return, they give us longer life, all the different things to keep the earth in balance, and all these things, that the blessings that we ask for, especially for long generations. The Sioux Nation talk about we're doing it for the seventh generation. We don't do it for us, we do it for everybody. And when I was a medicine man and I used to question them, he said, it doesn't make any difference how these other people are bad people. We have to pray for them. We also have to cure them. So this is why it's all these sacred places. Now, here's one thing that, number 4, do Kachina ceremonies. We do Kachina ceremonies, they connect humans with spirit beings. The Kachina concept is that these were the original visitors. They were ETs. And our storytellers and our different people tell us that when they first used to come over here, they had to hide themselves from the people because they're different. So they would use natural vegetation to make them not appear too bad to the public. And their primary reason is to continue to make a check on how the people are working and how they're living together. They bring song, they bring dance, and one of the things we ask them is for rain. What is happening right now? The earth is going through a cleansing process. The fires that are still going on, the floods that are going on. Look at the cold. It's going to be a big blizzard. The world is out of whack right now because it's going through a change. Now, we can blame technology up to a certain point, but there is something more powerful than technologies, which is the spirit world. So, in another way, I've tried, the Indians and the Hopi and the Zuni have tried for over 100 years to wake up people, but to no avail. Right now, we're in that process. There's other things that are happening. Remember the age of Aquarius coming on after Pisces and all that. I always kid a lot of people about this. What happened in 1969? Well, there was a group called the Fifth Dimension. And there was also, what was their favorite song? The Dawning of the Age of Aquarius. And what did Stanley Kubrick produce? 2001. America bought Stanley Kubrick's equipment and when he made that 2001, what happened in 1969? Moon landing. So I said, so I'm the only guy that started out in 1969. I graduated from engineering school. I said, there was no moon landing. So I got ousted right away because I'm receiving direct information from the spirit world. We knew about 9/11. Oh, the next slide. Here's these people these are the Hopi elders. We hear talk about them. John Lanza, the Monangi and all those other folks. They used to inform the United Nations to go over there, but they won't let them in. But atomic weaponry, about what is now they call the spider web. Oops. The spirit people say you're bad. I mean, so, going back, that happens all the time. He said, "There's Mahooty again, lying again." Okay, we're talking about the elders. There's a lot of things that happened in the India world we never talked about because we've been under suppression for 500 years. If you look at things like when the Dalai Lama comes, and you never hear about it on the public radio, anything. They go directly to the villages, or even say up in like about Taos. They go through their drawings and their mandalas and all that. And of course, in the old days, the Hopis would all get together. So that's one way that we used to connect. And they used to, when I was a boy, about 10 years old, they used to come to the Zuni village. And they're what they call the elders at that time. They would talk about what's happening and what's going to happen. It's like, okay, what do the Zuni wisdom keepers know about awakening? Spirit messengers guide cause effect prophecies. Here's where I talk about IE, Challenger, crash, wars, 9/11. See, we know about 9/11 3 months before it happened. And my brother, younger brother, he saw the exact thing that happened in what we call the Kachina, home of the Kachinas near Concho and St. John's, Arizona. And a lot of these are given to us, and it's like a giant screen, they say. I've never been there. But because I'm in that order where they come back and explain all of these information, the hardest one was 9/11. 9/11 was shown 3 months before it happened. The bottom line is that it was done internally, according to the spirit people. And the other thing, too, was that it was going to be a lie, another lie. So, okay, right now, as I said, that we're going through earth changes like volcanoes, floods, snowfall. They've got a big snowfall that's right now that's going on. And the fires, and we remember that fires in California. See, a lot of times before man came over here, the fire was the cleansing. They will wipe out the whole forest, and it's just like undergrowth. Undergrowth, when every time that they had the fire on the prairies, where they had millions and millions of buffalo, what it did was they bring back the grass because that's so. This is part of the natural activities, but now technology has taken over to scare all of us. There's still the control going. And then, of course, here's one thing that's really irks me every minute of every day is the lies created by people in power. The fake news media, the crooked politicians, electronics, just like what happened to my pocket, and race wars. The American Indian community were born colorblind. In other words, they didn't. There has been history of all kinds of people on this continent, north, south. The Indians call it what is it, the Turtle Island. They've had people come in here for thousands of years. I was explaining to Mr. Andrews a while ago that I did a presentation that they were here 2250 BC, the Chinese. And the other Buddhists came here in 500 AD. He actually encountered the civilizations that were here. They accepted him. There's a book called He Walked the Americas, which is a Jesus Christ complex that was part of this world here. So there's been a lot of, but see right now that they're also creating this race wars again. So the spirit people has been telling us, don't fall for that. Don't fall for it again. And then, of course, Eisenhower signed off on the industrial military complex. And then now it's become the industrial military education complex. Because now all your research is done by universities, the education systems, and they're the ones that created the mess in the pharmaceuticals, all the different types of fake diseases, all the different viruses that they create in the laboratories. You know, as a science person, I mean, it is so obvious. But see, this is why people have to wake up. Okay, star people, they did a lot of different ways. If you remember the classic, which I really enjoyed when I was a kid, it was called The Day the Earth Stood Still. and they had a remake of it. But this has happened many, many times. There's also a book about the valiant Thor that used to work in the Pentagon, star people. We've had star people within our tribes throughout history, and they're the ones that brought the knowledge. If you really want to get into the heavy stuff, well, you talk about people like Tesla, Einstein, Newton, the child prodigy of music. All those people are not from this planet. So it's still going on. So what we're doing is that we're dealing with the star people. My generation had a lot of them, but they were hidden. They had to hide. They couldn't talk because they would be kicked out of school, or they would put in the loony bin. So out there on the Indian reservation, we didn't care because we fought everybody. So why not just fight everybody? You know. So the Indigos, remember back in the old days, they used to call them the blue children. Some of you that are my generation, they used to call them the blue children. And then the blue became the Indigos. And then it went into the crystal children. And now we're the rainbow. And the next group will be even higher. We work with these people. And they're very, very. One kid told me in Denver, he, he was talking to everybody about what they are and whatever, and he was going to ride on with them. And then when I asked him, he looked at me and said, "I can't tell you." And I said, "Why not? This is in front of a public." He said, "You're too scary." Here's an Indian. I mean, here's a rainbow kid, super intelligent kid. See, you're too scary. So I went over there and grabbed him, grabbed him at the end of the session. Why did you say that? He said that you have to talk to somebody else because you have so many layers of it that I cannot. And this is a smart kid. I mean, super dimensional kid anyway. Maybe I'm not from somewhere. I don't know. Okay, well, anyway, so this is what's happening. And see, one of the things that's happening is that they're trying to get rid of these people, all of us since way back when. And this has been done by vaccination. Everybody, they even vaccinate kids before they're even born. Okay, and GMOs stuff. I mean, I see some weird stuff that comes out of that. They become mature when they're only 10, 12 years old. Now they're fully productive as by the time they're 13. So that and then non-education participation trophies that kind of irks me. You know, I I went to school when they counted F's on your GPA. Now everybody, one year I opened up a magazine and said everybody was a summa cum laude or a magna cum laude, and in my day there was only one magna and one summa. Now everybody was. I said, what kind of schools are these? So this is also lowering the standards. So false religion, we all know that. There's over 110,000 religions in the world. And so, and then of course, the, the latest thing is this sexual predator stuff. I mean, this is very, very real. So this is why we have to go over there and we got to realize it has to come from each one of us. Nobody's going to tell us how to do it or whatever. Next slide. Okay, here's one of the things that I talk about when the Star People Connection. How many people have been to Shaco? The first time I heard that story about the Great Kiva, I say, what the heck are they talking about? We didn't build Indians, southwestern Indians did not build kivas until after 1500 AD. That's the time that the Star People did not come anymore in their true forms, but they used to come in spirit form in a different dimension. That's where the kachinas came about. Kachina is actually a mask that represents the ET. And this I had to learn from many, many different sources because of my background and training, this is how I interpret it. What you see here is that in the old days that they used to have these ships come in, and they're still, I mean, they're around all the time. But that circular thing, I've been there many times. I did also studied sacred geometry based upon this place and Mesa Verde. This was a landing spot for the mothership. Now remember in Star Trek, I believe it's called the Starfleet Academy. According to my research and teachings and esoteric information, Chaco used to be the the center for the healing arts. And the Galaxy Society system that our medicine people is at Los Alamos, New Mexico, right next to the nuclear labs. Why did they choose that place? Because we know that there's a giant vortex is about 4 feet in diameter. And when they open it, I've never been there, but when they open it up, there's a big, like a rush that comes out. And I believe that it's probably energy of some sort. So they were all connected by underground tunnel systems. Remember the old story about Archuleta Mesa? You know, where they got these tunnels all over. And right now, the latest one is in Sandia Labs, which Emerald Smith talks about. All the tunnel systems over there. The young lady from Los Lunas, she knows all about that stuff. So, and our people have always known that they're all connected. They're just now finding out. We try to keep it secret for a long time, but because of the generations that are coming about, they're losing that because of the education system. Again, the education complex. See, we were forced not to speak our language. We were forced to cut our hair. We when we did something, we were treated. I mean, that's where I got my first combat training when I was 5 years old. So okay. So this is okay. Let me want to put in here. We're talking about. Remember, I said that I was at December 4th. That prayer is about 6 hours, and the other ones that are what we call the shalako, they sing in the sing song. But after a while, I realized that it's a frequency range. If the old-fashioned oscilloscopes that I used to work with, if you put that volume, I mean that language on there, you can see a pattern of it. And then after about halfway through, they go into a higher frequency. And they talk like it's just like mimicking a very, very fast message. It goes to the point of, and it's usually sounds like this. What they're doing is they're compressing all the languages in that short range, so you can see all that. So what in one of our in the Kachina prayer primarily, but they're all the same. And here's the prayers that we do for everybody, even though that we may be in one village, we do it for the whole world. And in one of those, it says this is a continuous one, but I chose this out. It said, "We the people do not know the path toward the future. The raw people, spiritual beings, kachinas, ETs, are the only ones that know. It is only through the prayers and rituals we will unite with strength and all human beings so that you will provide all of us with light, long life." And there's a whole bunch of them. but this is just a condensed version. These are Reader's Digest or or Cliff's Notes. Remember, they don't make that anymore, do they? Next slide. Okay, here's one thing that if we, instead of going over there and going overboard, because we were the KISS method, I guess, a lot of you people know what that means. And but when I used to be in, I, when I used to be in taking my classes in engineering, the professor would slap me around and say, "What are you trying to prove here? You're putting in more than what is required." So this is basically what I mean by returning to the future is that we have to deal with the environmental immediately. I'm not talking about Osama Cortez's approach. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the real thing, not this. I guess you must have been smoking some good stuff. I'd like to have some of that. But anyway, this environmental is the one that's really going to be very, very critical in immediately. And not only is it connected with to what we eat, but what the world is going to be about. Don't listen to the Al Gore Juniors of the world, you know. Don't listen to all this fake stuff. Just be realistic. That's what that says. You got to realize from where it's at. Don't believe anybody anymore. So these are the basic things that we have to look at. And I say that, the other one, what I left out is water. But that's the most important thing because it's in everybody. It's everything is water. And I tell the people, I said, when I went to college, it was very easy. I said, I had only four elements on my periodic chart: earth, water, wind, and fire. I don't know where Krypton came about or anyway, see the environmental covers a lot of the water side because it's part of the water. So this is what I see that's happening is that people are now realizing their diet is changing. They have to conserve water. We waste water just like like I don't know how to explain. We just dump it away. We dump more water which can be recycled. Water is the only element that can be recycled forever and forever. That's been around for billions of years. It hasn't changed. So that's the important thing that we have to deal with. And of course, the air is we're getting affected by it every time. Every time they shoot a rocket up there. Now, back in 1955, I was talking to my grandfathers, and they just started the rocket program. So, so grandfather, I asked him, I said, why are they doing that? He said, because people do not know, they don't realize that they're breaking their own house, and they're breaking the rock roof of our home. And I didn't realize what they were referring to was the different layers in the atmosphere. Get the stratosphere, the ionosphere, and all that later on. But what that does is that when they penetrate that, it breaks the molecules that protect it. Way back in the old days, the Van Allen belt studies were the electromagnetic radioaction system. So that was another clue that anything that they shoot out away from the Earth, it's going to burn it. I mean, that's atomic energy. And how can the capsule that's as thin as a paper towel on the rocket ships, how can they pass that? Because they got bombardments millions and millions of times. So that's another one. But anyway, this is what this whole thing about waking up is all about. You gotta be simple about it. And you gotta have that foundation. We all have it. Don't believe all this other crap that they say that's gonna happen. No, 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 it's not gonna happen there. It has to be done with us. It has to come from each one of us. I won't be standing up here if I didn't believe that. I could have been out there playing golf. Of course, I don't know how, but Anyway, back to the future is the people are now realizing that, the body is very important. Remember they said that our body is the temple? It's true. And then, of course, heart love, which a lot of people do not have anymore. And the analogy that I give is that I eat out a lot because I can't stand my own cooking. So I go to Denny's over here. Every time a family comes in there, there's mom and dad and the kids. They don't say good morning, up yours, or anything. They all have to go over there and they sit down. First thing they do is they pull out their little thing. Say, mama's talking to her boyfriend. Dad is texting to his mistress. And the kids are they're texting each other across the table. And I used to sit there and I say, what are those people doing? Well, they lost it. They don't even talk. So no wonder, what is it, 50% divorces? Something like that. Anyway, so the other thing too is the soul spirit, that we have to really get back into that soul spirit. And again, this can be done individually, because once you do it individually, it's like a virus. You affect that next one. And pretty soon, back in the 50s, we used to call it critical mass. And okay, now the last one is, what is it? I can't see that. Huh? Cleansing. Okay, cleansing. That's what we're all about here. Next slide. I think I'm almost through. The alien guy said, that's a lie. There are no humans. Especially the guy with the funny hair. Most of you know who that is, huh? But anyway, I got 5 minutes left. Any questions? Sure. I forgot to. Yeah, no, because they're multidimensional. They've always been, because they have a different driving system than because they're when they used to come in the early days, they would come through there and all of a sudden they'll be appearing right in front of us. One of the things that it's so funny is that they try to cloak themselves like a cloud. Have you ever seen that? We were watching one over here on top of Rimrock here, and my friend and I are watching that. Say, hey, look at that guy. He's probably a junior pilot. He probably went through ROTC. See that cloud over there? It's a cumulus, and this one is a cumulus. How come that one between is a cirrus cloud? And I say, hey, he said, you better hide yourself better because we can see you. All of a sudden, that cloud just disappeared. My alien buddies harass me all the time. I don't know. It's just, but anyway, it's fun to be here with a lot of open-minded people, and we're now. I can see that everybody is now beginning to that stage to where now they're going in there and they realize that you've had the answer all this time. It's just these things that affected the whole community as a whole to prevent us from doing that. So I work with open minds, the guys down there that do the International UFO Congress. I told them, I said, let's get away from this egotistical and attitude. Let's put our minds together. Each one of us have a piece of the puzzle. Some of you guys have maybe 3 or 4 of a 1,000-piece puzzle. let's get away from trying to outdo each other and don't be like the politicians. Let's be truthful because that's the only way that we can do that. Truth is the only way to do it. I sound like a preacher, but I'm not. But see, because when I was a little boy, I tried to lie. I always got caught. So it's a lot better just to tell the truth because nobody will believe you anyway. So if you lie, they'll believe you. So I try to, and then here's another thing too that we have to learn how to laugh with each other. We have to learn how to connect. And I belong to the Galaxy Society. They're also called the Tricksters. And you've heard of the Heyokas. You've heard of the Wile E. Coyote. And I asked a question in the Roadrunner and in Coyote cartoons, which one is the trickster? Most of them says it's the coyote. I said, no, 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 no. It's the Roadrunner. So that's the way it's supposed to be like that. So I'm glad to be here. And I will be at other meetings this year, Contact in the Desert, New Living Expo. I'm going to do plant medicine over there. And then at Contact in the Desert, I will be doing holistic medicine as practiced by the Indian tribe or Aboriginal tribes. And that's going to be the first time I'm going to do this with holistic medicine. I've already got permission to start talking about a lot of the practices that we deviated from the American Indian community. And there's a history of it. I don't have to go into that, the all the killing that went on and all that. That's beyond. Let's go for it. I don't talk about those things. I just don't be positive because we all need each other and we're gonna all be together. And I live for that because I believe in what I'm doing. Again, I'm just a messenger, and I want people to open their hearts and learn more from all of us that are in this system. We all have those pieces of the puzzle. Once you put it together, you can also participate in saying, I got this piece that I've held for years and years. So you can also help us. So any other questions before I, ma'am? Well, first of all, if you probably know about the Hopis that when they used to go to the United Nations, they call it they used to go there about their atomic energy, what they could do to destroy them, but they kicked them out of those buildings. And a lot of times when we present these to other folks, they just say that, well, these guys are savages. They don't know anything about that. I mean, this is history. The history that you learn about the American Indians, if there was ever one, that they never talked about these things. So they continued to destroy them because the first thing that they did was they separated from their sacred sites because that's where they can perform ceremony and magical things, cosmic magic, not illusion. And so the thing about 9/11 is that we have a pilgrimage every 4 years to this place of the Kachinas. And there were so many people that go there and they saw that. It's like a giant screen opens up. It's an all night chanting and prayer. And the way they explained to me, I've never been there, like I said, but they will show you some people will see it and the other ones won't. It's just like a UFO tour. You go out here, I've been to a lot of UFO tours. They can, those people that are open minded, open hearted, can immediately see them. those people that are non-believers or haven't gotten there yet, a UFO can just come right down there and it says right here, but they'll never see it. So it depends on how you are inside. So anyway, there's a lot of things. Now I'm writing a lot about that stuff. The what, son? Well, one of the things that remember that one about the binary sun, the binary sun. Now, if you go to a lot of cave drawings, the petroglyphs, it shows two of them. One is invisible, but they in the old days that used to come on, I guess, visible. But I haven't really done very much on that. Only basis on what they have on the petroglyphs. And if you look at some of my videos, I think we talk about that on one of them about petroglyphs. But we're talking about this blue star Kachina that might be in relation to that also. See, the blue star Kachina comes from the Pleiades group. It's a star. It left and it's coming around. That's the one that the Hope is predicting for years and years. It's coming around and it's going to cause a lot of different changes. So anyway, thank you very much.
One more time for Mr. Clifford Mahooty.
The one